Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I kind of wanted to do the same kind of thing that I did a couple of weeks ago, and I answered a number of the questions that I felt that maybe I'd avoided and not really shed much light on, and just kind of hopefully gave you a bit more of an insight into me as a person and things in the past, things in the present. And I actually really enjoyed that video, and I enjoyed filming it, and at the end of it I was literally like, that felt like therapy. And even when I watched it back, I can rarely sit through one of my own videos, and I watched it back like twice and I enjoyed it, and it seems like a lot of you did as well. I think there was one comment that said, I usually give you a hard time but I liked you in this, and I was like, thank you. So I thought that there's got to be more questions that I probably didn't get around to answering in that. And because I enjoyed filming it so much, I thought that I would do another one. Hopefully it's not going to be as long-winded as that one, because that basically did include my entire life story almost. So I hopefully will have this one down a little bit, but I have a couple of questions, probably about 5, that I thought that I would go through with you now. So here we are with my second spilling the tea on myself video. I hope that you enjoy it, and let me know in the comments what you thought, and also if you have any questions that you feel like I haven't answered before, then please don't hesitate to leave it in the comments, because it's always good for me looking back at stuff like this. I'm able to be like, okay, that I could maybe answer in another video, so it's all good. So without further ado, let's get into the first question. So the first question is, how do you deal with the criticism and negativity? And this is a question I feel like I've answered before, but I maybe haven't answered in the way that I should answer. What I enjoyed about that video that I filmed before was that I was just honest, and I just answered in the only way that I knew how to. When I'm asked this question about negativity and criticism, I often feel quite defensive, and I often feel like I have to keep up a front and make it seem like it doesn't hurt me, and make it seem like, you know, it doesn't affect me. And I've had some time over the last few weeks and months to reflect on the things that have happened with me being on the internet, from when I spoke about needing a photographer on trips to the Hush Pyjama event. And I have kind of realised that I don't need to put up a front with the way that I feel about negativity anymore, and how I deal with it. To be perfectly honest with you, I didn't deal with it. I dealt with it terribly, and I had some really, really horrible times with it. And I would act like online that I wasn't having those times and they didn't exist. And I thought that this was a really good question to give you some insight into how the difficult times that I've had that have played out on the internet have affected me, but how I deal with them now. So if we go way back to when I tweeted about how brands sometimes invite me away on trips and want me to create the same content, but I can't take a person with me, I received around 4 days of constant trolling. Not trolling, that's a word that I use, it's not trolling. Opinions. I received 4 days of opinions on the topic from other creators in the industry, some of them laced with what I felt to be unnecessary, like, animosity towards me in it, but it was difficult. It was embarrassing, and it was difficult because when I tweeted that, I never felt like, you know, I didn't feel like my intentions weren't bad. I'd been speaking to a creator that was on a trip, and she was explaining how upset she was to be in this beautiful place, and she couldn't capture any content because she was by herself. And I felt her. I felt her on a real level there, because I've been in that situation, and it is frustrating, especially if that's the kind of online creator that you are, where you create content with someone else, it can be quite difficult. I mean, since that tweet, I did have brands reach out to me and say, like, we actually take what you tweeted on board and it makes perfect sense. So although I had a hard time with it, I realised that not everyone is always going to take what you're saying in the way that you intend it, and as long as that your intentions are good, then I think that that's kind of the main thing from that I took. Obviously I've had other times since that, but I've learnt to trust my intentions more than how people take what I'm saying. So as long as I meant well, then I think that that's kind of the main point. In terms of what happens online, I know that there are obviously forums and there are people that kind of spill out of those forums onto my home on the internet. I saw Tati mention that, she was like, this is my home, and that was such a nice way of her to describe it, in the sense that it's her home and, you know, she's inviting you into her home, and it's not okay for people to be unnecessarily abusive. Now, I'm the first person to say that abuse is subjective, I think. Like, God, I mean, it's a difficult subject, isn't it? You might not think that swearing and calling someone names and things like that, you might not see that as abusive because that might be your normality, but for someone like me, that's quite a difficult thing to take. So when comments are framed as constructive but have underlying tones of spite, is that the right word? It's probably the right word to use. Spite and nastiness. It's quite difficult to take the constructive criticism from that, because it's really hard to take a constructive criticism that feels like a personal attack. So if I was going to constructively criticize someone, so say with my videos, I've been struggling with the sound, and although behind the scenes I'm trying to find a good microphone, not a lot of people want to tell me what a good microphone is, and I have looked. But it's, I would probably say to someone, I love your videos because I'm evidently watching them. However, it might be an idea to look at the sound, because it was quite difficult to watch that video because the sound was really bad. There are loads of microphones out there. Maybe go have a look. That would be my kind of constructive criticism approach. I don't necessarily, you know, because this is who I am and I'm putting myself on the internet, I can't necessarily take constructive criticism against the person that I am, because that is who I am, and I'm quite fond of who I am as a person. I think I've got some great qualities. So taking negativity and criticism is quite difficult, because we don't ask for it, and it's not something that, it was never as bad as it is now. And I think that I've seen a lot of creators speaking about this. I felt like I was quite alone for a while, and that I felt like I was like the most hated YouTuber because I received so much negativity. But I think that it's kind of spreading now, and I see a lot of people speaking about it and a lot of people struggling with it. And when I was struggling with it, I was really lucky to have two really big creators kind of give me a little bit of insight and understanding and a few tips on it. One girl is from Australia, and she just slid into my DMs and she was like, this is what's happening, this is why it's happening, and this is kind of how you can digest it a little bit better. And then I had another UK creator that basically explained to me that it is normal to feel the need to have someone help you work through being online, and that was really helpful for me as well. So now whenever I see someone else speaking online about their struggles on the internet with the criticism and the negativity, I slide into their DMs and I try to offer them my experiences and my advice, and just to know that they're not alone, because the hardest thing for me was feeling like I was the most hated person on the internet and that I was the only one that was going through it. So I tried to make sure that no matter what, no one feels like that. So yeah, that's my little rambly kind of take on criticism and negativity, but I no longer feel like I need to put up a front and act like it doesn't bother me. I am able to acknowledge what is a constructive comment and what isn't a constructive comment, and anything that I just feel is an attack on me is basically not allowed in my space anymore. And it's not for you to tell me what is or isn't constructive. That's a decision that I will make. And if you are worried about your comment being taken that way, possibly reread it a couple of times and think if it was said to you, and then it might be able to help you get your point across in a better way. I saw Lily Pebbles say something on Twitter the other day, is that you shouldn't have to know what someone is going through in order to be kind to that person. You should just be kind to people no matter what. And I think that's quite profound, to be honest, and I really took that on board. So yeah, that's my approach now. So I'm done pretending like the negativity doesn't affect me, because it has done, but I'm now in a space where I'm able to kind of see it for what it is, and it doesn't hurt me as much when I read nasty comments about myself. Sometimes I can have a laugh and a joke about it and not take it as that's who I am, because I think that's what I was doing. People were saying things and it was making me think that, oh my god, I must be a horrible person because that person says I'm a horrible person, and I obviously don't think that way anymore. So yeah, a slightly different take on it. If you've watched previous videos, I feel like I've come a long way from that. So yeah. And I was saying that this video wasn't going to be long, and we're on question 1 and 11 minutes in. Oh dear, Lydia. Question number 2. Now, I had a lot of questions about friendships in the online YouTube space, and there were a couple of names thrown in there, like, are you still friends with this person? Does this person hate you? And in this kind of instance, I wouldn't ever bring someone's name onto my channel without asking their permission. So I'm going to like speak about this in like a general way, and hopefully that maybe makes things a bit more like understandable. Hope that's the right word. So yeah, there was a lot of questions like, does this person hate you? Does this person hate you? Are you friends with this person? Are you still friends with this person? And I've learned a lot about friendship over the last year, I would say. And Carrie has this really amazing saying that she told me the other day, that's basically a friendship is either for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And what that means to me, and I'm pretty sure it means to most people, is that there are friendships that come in to your life for different reasons. And some of those friendships will be forever, and some of those friendships will have like a lesson attached to it, and you'll learn something from it, and it won't just be for nothing. And some of those friendships they're not meant to withstand the test of time, and they're not meant to be forever, but they're just, you know, it was a lovely time in your life, and that was that. And I don't welcome negativity or drama into anything that I do online. That's not something that I go in search of, and it isn't something that I want to ever be a part of. And so if for any reason friendships don't work out, or relationships change, that's something that is, for me, it's never on bad terms, and it's not any means to, you know, there's just no reason to like burn bridges or anything like that. So I'm able to see the friendships for what they are, and the benefits and the good things that they brought to my life at that time. And I'm also able to acknowledge the friendships that are here forever. And that's kind of it's kind of my take on it, I guess, is that I just know when a friendship is forever, and I know when a friendship is not forever. And I don't fall out with people, I don't, you know, have a go at people, I'm not horrible to people, and I don't ever feel like there needs to be like a huge thing that happens. I know that YouTube at the moment is going through a bit of a time where there is a lot of drama and there is a lot of fallout. I'd say it's more so in the American market. In the UK, I don't know whether I don't really ever see anything from the UK in that sense. And this is a channel that's about like my life and my love of fashion and my love of stuff and my home, and it's not a drama channel. And there are channels for that, and you can go and watch those channels and become, and even I've watched them. Sometimes I'm like sat there and I'm like, wow. But this is not what that is. And so I know that people want there to be like tea and drama sometimes, but there can't be drama where there isn't drama. And so, yeah, basically, I just think that that saying is such a good one. When friendships are either here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, that really did put things into perspective, that not every person is meant to be in your life forever. And yeah, that was quite good. And in terms of like falling out with people, or do people hate me, or do people not like me? Again, no names like mentioned that I haven't asked, you know, if they can be spoken about in this sense in my channel, but I'm sure there are lots of people that maybe don't like what I do, or don't like me, or just don't like my vibe, and that's fine. Like, you're never going to please all of the people all of the time. You can try to please some of the people some of the time, and that's okay. But there are always going to be people that don't like me. Hopefully they'll change their mind when they get to know me, but you know, I'm quite good. But it's one of those things that if you think that they don't like me, maybe they don't, but you know, that's up to them. And hopefully that will change, and hopefully it has changed, and as adults we can move on from things. But yeah, this is not the kind of thing that I would ever welcome into my like space as such. So I hope that the hundreds of questions that I received on both of those topics, like whether people dislike me or whether I've fallen out with people, I hope that kind of answers my stance on that, and just makes you realise that there's never going to be any tea unless I'm spilling tea about myself. I'm never going to spill any tea about someone else. If they want to spill tea about me as well, they can come do it in one of my videos. But yeah, so that's that question. Hopefully done and dusted. Next up, could you please talk a bit more about coming off your pill and how it's helped you? So I've spoken about in my vlogs about my struggles with my period and my hormones around that time of the month and being on the pill. Oh my goodness. I think I realised kind of late last year that my pill was just like, it was making me someone that like I'm not, and I was really struggling with that. And I feel so sorry for Ali sometimes, because he can't understand the way that it makes me feel, but I really, really, really have struggled with it. And I still struggle with it now that I'm off the pill, but it was really bad when I was on the pill. And basically I had the coil for a while, years and years ago, and the coil was one of the most horrific experiences of my life. My periods were just, oh my goodness, like I can't put into words how bad they were. I would convulse on the floor, I would pass out. Honestly, it felt like someone was tearing my insides out. It was honestly, I feel like I'm scarred from it, from how bad that was. And when I had it removed, it literally stopped like that. But obviously, as a 20-something-year-old, I needed to be on a form of contraception. I mean, I always had long-term boyfriends, so I've never really gone through the like promiscuous side of things. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that at all, but that was just something I never went through. And so I went on the pill as well. It had to go hand in hand when I was on Roaccutane. And unfortunately, I don't react well to most pills, so I was getting quite bad heart palpitations, which is quite scary. You don't want anything happening with your heart, basically. And so I tried about 3 pills, and then they put me on Yasmin, and Yasmin was okay. It was like the best out of a bad bunch, basically. I would very kind of rarely get heart palpitations, and they would just kind of be like 1 or 2, and I could kind of be okay with that. But my mood on that, it just made me so unhappy and so my fuse was so short. I had zero patience, and it was just, yeah, I realised that I wanted to come off that. Unfortunately, when I first came off it, I suffered quite badly, and I did experience quite a lot of hair loss on it. I don't think anyone would have noticed other than me, but I did notice that my hair went very, very thin. And I look back at pictures now and I can see it, but I don't think that it would have been noticed by anyone else maybe. I think I came off that, and then my skin broke out really badly, and it made me panic. So I like instantly went straight back on, and I think I was on for another 6 months, and it just, all of the feelings and the emotions came back, and I was like, I just need to get off this. And luckily, I didn't experience the hair loss again, and now I've been off for, God, it must be nearly a year that I've been off it now, and I'm so happy, just so happy that I'm not on it. My period is still something that I struggle with, and when it comes to that time of the month, I will break out. So I'm just kind of on the back end of a breakout now, and my skin is like kind of on the mend from it, but it's more like the emotional side of things that I struggle with. And I have actually had a time when it's been that time of the month where I have even felt like hopeless. And I've never ever felt hopeless in my life. Like, that's not an emotion I've ever felt. And so luckily I was able to kind of like acknowledge that that was because I was having a particularly bad period, and I knew that that wasn't actually the way that I was feeling. That was my emotions making me feel that way. My hormones making me feel that way, sorry. And yeah, so I struggle with it quite a lot, and I would love to look into more ways to ensure that I don't feel that way at the time of the month. But I'm just happy to be at this point where I don't feel like that all of the time, which is kind of how I felt when I was on Yasmin. But I also feel like this is like a bit of a movement. Like, a lot of people are, oh, there's a little bird on my window. Oh. I feel like a lot of people are now coming away from artificial hormone contraceptions and trying to find other ways to kind of cope with contraception and not wanting to get pregnant, and also how it makes them feel. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight into that. Okay, next question. Have you ever thought that you are not good enough? How do you cope with that feeling? I would say that I think that probably everyone has felt like that at some point in time. I don't necessarily think that I feel like that I'm not good enough. I have a thing about feeling like I'm not a very nice person, which is why in the past I've struggled with the negativity online, because I would be like, well, I already feel like I'm not a very nice person, so I'm totally like hyper aware and hyper vigilant of anyone else thinking that I'm not a very nice person. So that was why I would struggle with that. So that's my biggest thing, is that it's not that I don't feel good enough, I just feel like I'm not a good enough person, and I'm not a nice enough person. And that's something that I've luckily been able to acknowledge recently, and know that I am my own worst enemy in those situations. And to be quite honest with you, I would say that if that is something that you're feeling, and you feel like it's something that you feel a little bit more than you maybe should, that I would suggest that, from my personal experience, that speaking to someone about it is probably the best way to break down those feelings and understand why you feel that way, and that it's, you know, it's something that you can work through and begin to understand. Like, I feel like a completely different person to who I was like 2 months ago, now that I understand why I felt that way and how that came about. And I, although still feel like, oh, you know, when people meet me, they'll think I'm not a very nice person and they won't like me, I'm able to understand it a little bit more, maybe put those worries to one side, and ensure that I'm putting me across in the way that I want me to be put across, rather than letting those feelings come to the surface and kind of rule over my social situations, rather than me just being myself and being calm and not worrying about anything. So yeah, that would be like my best advice on that, would be to just take some time out, find someone that you are able to talk to. I don't always say that it's probably good to have someone that's like unbiased, completely out of your life, has no idea about what you do or anything like that, and just having that unbiased, neutral opinion on things is quite valuable. So yeah, that would be how I suggest you do that. Anyway, I've got 4 questions into this and I'm already on 26 minutes of chatting, so I'm not going to go to the 5th question on this, but hopefully you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed filming this one and the last one, and hopefully I can do more of these kinds of videos where I talk about these subjects that maybe I haven't spoken about before. So I hope that you have found this informative, and if there's anything else that you would like me to ask, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments, and I will always ask these kinds of things on Twitter, on Instagram, sorry, as well. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, do hit the subscribe button, and I would love to have you back here for more. And yeah, hopefully see you in my next one. Thanks, bye!